Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So in this class today, we are going to study the section 2 of the part which is titled as what is Saddhamma. And we have seen previously that this part 5 of the book 3 is of very is very useful for us to understand Baba Sahib's conception of what is Saddhamma, and we have seen that he has categorized in 3 ways: the Dhamma, Adhamma, and Saddhamma. And this section 2 is divided into 3 subsections, and these 3 subsections are titled Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all, and we are going to look into this. And then the second subsection is about Dhamma is Saddhamma when it teaches that mere learning is not enough. It may lead to pedantry. And then we are going to look at the third subsection, Dhamma is Saddhamma, when it teaches that what is needed is Pradnya. So, all these sections and their subsections are tied together very well so that we get a complete picture of what Baba Sahib Ambedkar means by Dhamma to be Saddhamma, must promote Pradnya. So, Pradnya, Shil, Karuna has been the very condensed form of teaching that Baba Sahib Ambedkar has talked time and again about the Buddha's Dhamma. And here he has gone into depth as to what does it mean to promote Pradnya. And we can see the use of the word here, promotion of Pradnya. So Pradnya is not just to practice for oneself, but we need to promote it as well. And in order to promote the Pradnya, the most important factor is this, that the learning should be open to all. And we know that in the ancient India, there was a doctrine or there was a philosophy which denied learning to all. And only a class of people could undertake learning, and certain classes of the people had no access to learning. So that was a Brahminical sort of a system. But there was a Shramnik tradition which was open for all. And everybody can go and learn whatever they could in the Shramnik tradition. But the Brahminic tradition was not like that. It was the knowledge, so-called knowledge or acquisition of knowledge, was not thrown open to all. And it was limited to a very few people. And we have seen that when Brahmanism trumped in the history, we have seen that the Shudras have been denied the very acquisition of knowledge, and the women have not been allowed even to seek knowledge. A single word of knowledge they were allowed to seek. So as Baba Ambedkar says in the verse number 2, they permitted acquisition of knowledge only to the Brahmins, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas, but it was only to the male sex of these 3 classes. So it was not even available to the women of those classes. So such was the exclusivity of the knowledge that this Brahminical doctrine maintained. So Buddha was, of course, he was a democratic, and his core finding, his core discovery, as we have seen, is the equality between the human beings. And Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, realized that all human beings are equal, and all human beings are capable of attaining to the highest bliss, to the freedom, to the ultimate happiness, Mahasukha, Nibbana. And Buddha, of course, we have seen that he has developed a path from dukkha to sukha, from the limitedness to unlimitedness, from the closed-mindedness to the open-mindedness. So the Buddha was, of course, had revolted against the very atrocious doctrine of the Brahmins. And there is a sutta that Baba Ambedkar has brought in here to support the Buddha's teaching. And that sutta is very famous sutta, is the Lohicha Sutta. Now, if we understand this sutta, Lohitya Sutta, we can understand a lot of things about the Buddha's concept of not only learning open to all, but everything open to all. So nothing can be the exclusivity of anybody. Everything has to be open to all. So this has percussions on how we view the caste system even today. So the Lohitya Brahmin was a very rich Brahmin of that time, and the king Prasannajit has given him a very beautiful village called Shalavatika. So there were a lot of sala trees, and his Vatika was very beautiful. Just like Ashok Vatika, we say, the Vatika full of Ashoka tree. And here the Vatika is full of Sala tree. Because it was a village surrounded by a row of Sala trees. And that time he was living in Salavatika. And Buddha was staying there. And this, as I have seen, I said that this Salavatika was given to him by the king of Kosala, King Prasannajit has given this to him. So as a royal gift. So Lohika, the Brahmin, was of the opinion that if a Samana or a Brahmana acquired knowledge, he should not communicate it to the women or to the Shudras. So that was the position of Lohitya Brahman, that any knowledge that has been acquired should not be communicated to the women or to the Shudras. And we see that this same opinion has percolated in the history. In the modern history, we have seen how even the king like Shahu Maharaj was, denied the reading of the Vedas and also on and so forth. So we know that this school of thought has been there for a long time, and Buddha, of course, challenged it. So he heard that the Blessed was staying in Salavatika. That time it happened so that Buddha was staying in Salavatika because, he used to go to Kosala all the time. One of the places where the Lord spent a lot of his time. So he had a barber. His name was, here Baba Sahib Ambedkar has given the name Bhesika. But some of the text says that his name was Rosika or whatever. So he sent his barber to the Buddha to ask Venerable Buddha Gautama to join him for a meal the next day. So Bhesika or Rosika goes to the Buddha and requests that he is invited for a meal with his Sangha. And the Buddha agrees silently. He says, okay, I will come. The Buddha sometimes, he didn't answer. He only remained silent, and his silence was to be understood as consent. So the Buddha went to Lohika Brahman's place and he sat down, and the Lohika, the Brahman, served the order with the Buddha at its head with his own hand, sweet food, both hard and soft, until they refused anymore. So he fed them as much as he could. So after the meal was finished and the bowl was cleaned and his hands, Lohitya the Brahmin brought a low seat and sat down beside him. So he sat down near the Buddha. So he asked Buddha, is it true what they say, Lohitya, that you hold the view that a Samana or a Brahmana should not communicate any knowledge or learning to women or Shudras? So the Buddha asked a question because Buddha knew of his view that he is of this view. So he asked whether it's true that you are having this view that the knowledge should not be communicated to women and the Shudras. And he said, yes, Gautama, that is what I hold the view. Now, what think you, Lohitya? Are you not established in Shalavatika? Now, we have seen the style of the Buddha. Buddha never ever fought with anger in his mind. He was very considerate teacher. He knew how to talk to the people. He knew how to use the question and answer. So most of the times he entered into questioning, and the answer to those questions led to certain insights for the persons who were questioned. So here Buddha is using the same method. He's questioning Lohitya. He's asking him. Now, what is the Buddha's question to him? And the answer will be according to the Buddha. You see, that is the genius of the Buddha. So, to frame the question, you need a genius. You frame the question in such a way that it invokes the answer, which is beneficial to the person who is being questioned. So here you see what kind of an answer the Buddha is demanding from Lohitya. So Buddha asks him, because as I told you that he was the master, he was the lord of Salavatika, which was given to him by Prasannajit. These two facts are very important. That he was the master of Salavatika, and that land was given to him, the Salavatika was given to him by King Prasannajit. So here is the question: are you not established in Salavatika? So Lohit answers, yes, that is so, Gautama. So you will see in the answer, he says that yes, that is so, that I am now established at Salavatika. Then the Buddha's question: let's suppose, Lohitcha, one were to speak thus. If somebody says like this, Lohitcha, the Brahmin, has a domain at Salavatika. Let him alone enjoy all the revenue and all the produce of Salavatika, allowing nothing to anybody else. Would the utterer of that speech be a danger maker as touching the men who live in dependence upon you or not? In this very beautiful frame of question that the Buddha has raised, he's asking that if somebody speaks like this, that Rohicha the Brahmin has a domain over this Salavatika, and he is going to alone enjoy all the revenue and all the produce of Salavatika, allowing nothing to anybody else. Would the utterer of that speech be a danger maker as touching the men who live in dependence upon you or not? You see, the similar case exists that, if anybody claims that this belongs to me, that this country belongs to me, that everything in this country belongs to me, nobody is going to get anything, then whether that person is a danger maker or not, that is what the Buddha is asking. You see the depth of the question that and how that is applicable even today, that some people claim that this country or this place or this part is the exclusive property of them. Nobody can enjoy it. Only a class of people can enjoy it. It belongs to only a class of people. So will not there be a danger? There will be always a danger. There is such a teaching that this belongs to me, this land belongs to me, that only I can enjoy the revenue of it. Only I can enjoy the product of it. Nobody else can. Then would the utterer of that speech be a danger maker as touching the men who live in dependence upon you or not? So of course the answer is yes, because there will be of course a danger in such a situation. If somebody is claiming exclusivity over something, he's saying that it's only for me, it's not for others. And then the Buddha asked further, and making that danger, would he be regarded as a person who sympathized with their welfare? Then such a person, if he's claiming that everything belongs to me, then the Buddha asked, would he be regarded as a person who sympathized with their welfare? No. The answer is no. He would not be considering their welfare. If somebody is claiming, for example, if somebody is selling everything that is public to the private hands, can we say that that man is securing the interest of the public or private? It's like modern times we can think about that there is a lot of public property around, and if that public property is given in the hands of a few people, then can we say that that kind of a policy is going to it's like sympathizing with the masses or with their welfare? No, he would not be considering their welfare, Gautama, replied Lohitcha. And not considering their welfare, would his heart stand fast in love towards them or in enmity? So if anybody is claiming that, anybody is doing that, then can we say that his heart is in love with the people, multitude of the people, or with enmity? So he says in enmity, it's against it. But when one's heart stands fast in enmity, is that unsound doctrine or sound doctrine? Is that policy or a teaching is sound or unsound? He asked Lohitcha. And Lohitcha answers, it is an unsound doctrine, Gautama. Now what think you, Lohitcha? Is not King Prasannajit of Kosala in possession of Kasi and Kosala? Because the King Prasannajit was a great emperor, and he purchased all these lands of Kosala and Kasi. So now, and we know that the King Prasannajit has given this Salavatika to Lohitcha. So the question is like this: is not King Prasannajit of Kosala in possession of Kasi and Kosala? Yes, that is so, Gautama. Then suppose Lohitcha, one were to ask thus, King Prasannaji of Kosala is in possession of Kasi and Kosala. Let him enjoy all the revenue and all the produce of Kasi and Kosala, allowing nothing to anybody else. Would the utterer of that speech be a danger maker as touching the men who live in dependence on King Prasannaji of Kosala, both yourself and others or not? He would be a danger maker, Gautama. And making that danger, would he be person who sympathized with their welfare? He would not be considering their welfare, Gautama. And not considering their welfare, would his heart stand fast in love towards them or in enmity, Gautama? But when one's heart stands fast in enmity, is that unsound doctrine or sound doctrine? It is an unsound doctrine, Gautama. So you see the kind of a sequence of questioning that the Buddha has gone into. And, we can likewise go similarly in questioning about, a few people wanting to possess everything. A few people trying to claim that everything belongs to them. There is nothing for others. So this paragraph number 41, which I'm going to read, and then I'm going to gloss over a little bit. So then, Lohicha, you admit that he who should say that you, being in occupation of Salavatika, should therefore yourself enjoy all the revenue and produce thereof, bestowing nothing on anyone else. And he who should say that King Prasannaji of Kosala, being in power over Kasi and Kosala, should therefore himself enjoy all the produce thereof, bestowing nothing on anyone else, would be making danger for those living in dependence on him, or for those you and others living in dependence upon the king, and that those who does make danger for others must be wanting in sympathy and have their hearts set fast in enmity. And that to have one's heart set fast in enmity is unsound doctrine. Then just so, Loicha, is he who should say that a samana or a brahmana should not communicate his knowledge and learning to women and shudras. So just so, he who should say thus would be putting obstacles in the way of others and would be out of sympathy for their welfare. Being out of sympathy for their welfare, his heart would become established in enmity. And when one's heart is established in enmity, that is unsound doctrine. You see the logical flow and the way the Buddha has argumented. The argumentation of the Buddha, the persuasion, the power of persuasion of the Buddha is very, very lucid and very strong. And we see that in the Lohicha Sutra as to how the Buddha is claiming that, nothing can be exclusive property of anybody else. So knowledge, the domain of knowledge should be open to all. Everybody should be allowed to learn. Nobody should be deprived of learning. If we deprive anybody of anything, that means it doesn't conducive to their welfare. And whatever doesn't conducive to the welfare of others is grounded in enmity. And whatever is grounded in enmity, whatever is grounded in hatred is not a sound doctrine. And whatever is not a sound doctrine is going to affect the lives of the people. So you see, if you keep this the teaching of the Buddha in your mind, because this is going to help us to go further in the section 3, that subsection 3 that we are going to study today. So we see that, even today, there are a lot of people who claim that everything is their exclusive property. Everything belongs to them. Only they can enjoy the fruits of it. Nobody is allowed, or even, nobody is accepted in the inner domain of that exclusivity. And the Buddha was totally for inclusion. He wanted to include every human being. He wanted to include who were treated badly by the society. He wanted to include women. He wanted to include people from all the walks of life. And that is the secret of the Buddhism. That's how Buddhism spread all over the world, because there was no exclusivity. The Buddha had nothing to hide. Buddha had nothing special that was not taught to other people. And we have seen that the Buddha's beautiful phrase, Acharya's Mutti, means the Buddha had nothing. Buddha has hold nothing. His hand was open. He taught everything. He didn't treat doctrines as something secretive. He didn't think that his Dhamma was exclusive to certain class of people, not even to the bhikshus. His Dhamma was open to all. He taught all. He taught the farmers. He taught He taught the robbers, he taught the killers, he taught Brahmins, he taught everybody. He taught kings. That was the mind of the Buddha, very open. His hand was like this. His fist was never closed. Like, some people guard the secrets. It's a exclusive doctrine. You cannot have access to it. Buddha said, no, it's not possible. Everything has to be accessible to everybody else. And I think that's what is happening even today in terms of the resources. Some people claim that the land belongs to them. But if we take the logic further, to whom the land can belong? Because the land is not created by anybody. The water is not created by anybody. It's just there. And that's why we see that the Buddha was somebody who in the Sangha, there was no private property. Everything belonged to the community. And what belonged? What was the range of belonging? A few things: clothes, medicine, and the place of dwelling, nothing else. That's why Baba Sahib Ambedkar says that if people can practice the philosophy of the Buddhist Sangha, it will create more better society than even the communism can imagine. Because the Buddha realized that the land and all these resources, they don't belong to one person. They are not exclusive to one particular class of people. The money is not exclusive to the one particular class of people. And if any doctrine teaches that something belongs to a class of people, then it is always going to lead to enmity. It's always going to lead to hatred. It's always going to lead to unsound doctrine, just like caste system. So caste system is an unsound doctrine. It is not a sound doctrine because it's a denial of what belongs to others by a system.
Voice is breaking.
Am I audible?
Yeah, audible, but voice is breaking in me.
Let's see. Now, how is the voice? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello, can you hear me now, madam?
Yes, it's audible.
Sorry, sometimes this internet connection is not good. But did you follow so far what I have been talking about?
Yes, clear. It was clear.
Okay. Thank you. So you see that, this subsection of the section 2, which is titled as Dhamma to be Saddhamma, must promote Pradnya. And in the first subsection, Baba Sahib Ambedkar has talked about Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all. Now, am I clear to you all? Am I audible?
Yes.
Or is the voice coming in breaks?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It is okay, but.
Okay. Then let's move on to the subsection 2, which Baba Sahib Ambedkar titled it as Dhamma is Saddhamma when it teaches that mere learning is not enough, it may lead to pedantry. So Baba Sahib Ambedkar says that, even the Buddha claimed that mere learning is not enough. It will be just like, becoming a parrot or parroting certain things. Okay, so Dhamma is Saddhamma when it teaches that mere learning is not enough, it may lead to pedantry. And here here Baba Sahib Ambedkar has gone on to cite one beautiful sutta here, and it's very, very interesting sutta because there was a brahmacharin at that time in Kausambi, and Buddha was dwelling there in a vihar called Beautiful Voice, and he was preaching the people in the assembly. And there was one person who was a brahmachari, and brahmachari claimed that he was unrivaled for knowledge of scriptures and being unable to find anyone equal to himself in argument, was accustomed to carry wherever he went a lighted torch in his hand. So there was this man, Brahmachari, who claimed that he is rivaled for knowledge of scriptures, and being unable to find anyone equal to himself in argument, was accustomed to carry wherever he went a lighted torch in his hand. So wherever he went, this Brahmachari carried a torch in his hand. Now, why so? One day, a man in the marketplace of a certain town, seeing him thus, asked him the reason of his strange conduct, on which he replied, "The world is so dark and men so deluded that I carry this torch to light it up so far as I can." So this man, who claimed that he has all the knowledge of the scriptures and the whole world is blind, he has this torch with him all the time, so that other people can see. So the Buddha forthwith called that man Brahmachari. He said, "Hey, what should here there? What are you about with that torch?" So Buddha asked, "Hey, Brahmachari, why are you carrying that torch?" The Brahmachari replied, "All men are so wrapped in ignorance and gloom that I carry this torch to illumine them." Then the Blessed One asked him again. Now listen carefully. This is very interesting. So all of us sometimes think that we know better than others. We know a lot of things. We know we carry the torch in the world. The whole world is blind and we are showing them the light. And now listen to these words of the Buddha, very interesting words of the Buddha. The Buddha says, then the Blessed Lord asked him again, "And are you so learned as to be acquainted with the 4 treatises which occur in the midst of sacred books? To wit, the treatise on literature, Shabda Vidya, the treatise on heavenly bodies and their paths, the treatise on government, and the treatise on military art." On the Brahmachari being forced to confess he was unacquainted with these things, he flung away his torch, and the Buddha added these words: "If any man, whether he be learned or not, considers himself so great as to despise other men, he is like a blind man holding a candle. Blind himself, he illumines others." Now you see, what Buddha is basically teaching here is that there is limit to knowing the worldly things. Not all of us can know, if we take the modern disciplines of physics, we cannot know everything about chemistry, we cannot know everything about mathematics, we cannot know everything. That is what the Buddha is saying. But whatever we know of the domain in which we work, we think that we know everything, and we claim that other people are fools, other people are ignorant. And we say that we are bringing the light to the world without knowing that we cannot do it. So if we claim that, we know better than others, or we are better than others, the Buddha says that, the man who is claiming thus is holding a candle, blind himself, he illuminates others. So what happens is that when we are ignorant, we think that we know so many things, but when we are ignorant and we try to display that ignorance as a knowledge to others, the other people know. The other people can understand what it is. And that's why it's very important that this learning is not going to help us. It can help us to build our careers. It can help us in certain domains, but we cannot claim that we are holding a torch for the other people, because the knowledge is limitless. According to the Buddha, the knowledge is limitless. There is so much of a knowledge that it never ends. You pick up any field, you pick up the field of for example physics, or for example the field of chemistry, or for example medicine or engineering, any field. There is always going to be something to be learned. There is always going to be something that has to be understood. There is always going to be something that is not yet been known to the humanity. So what Baba Ambedkar also says, even after reading so much and having had so much of a learning, even the person like Baba Ambedkar says that I feel that I have just my knowledge is like in the vast sea of the ocean. Only my toes are wet. Only my fingers of my feet are wet. There is so much of a knowledge, even for a person like Baba Ambedkar. He claims that, he is not, there is so much in the world that is still unknown to him. The voracious reader who read 4 or 5 books a day, reading all the time, having access to so many things. He even says that, he's a student throughout his life. And this is an attitude that the Buddhist should have, the beginner's mind. We cannot, if we go on claiming that we are experts, then there is no possibility of improvement. But if we believe that we are just beginners and there is so much to be known, there is a vast ocean of knowledge there which still need to be explored. You can see that this kind of an attitude brings us one quality that is essential for us to be a human, that is the quality of an open mind. The mind that is open to learn, the mind that is open to understand, the mind that is open to understand the very person that is before us, because they might be knowing more than us in certain domains. They might be having more knowledge than us in certain areas. And it is so that there are people in the world who have more knowledge in many fields than what we have. So you see, that's how Baba Ambedkar says that Dhamma is Saddhamma. When it teaches that mere learning is not enough, it may lead to pedantry. So all these two subsections are tied very neatly in the third subsection by Baba Ambedkar. I think that's where the culmination of this section 2 lies. And the section 3 is titled as Dhamma is Saddhamma, when it teaches that what is needed is Pradnya. And what is Pradnya? We all try to know what is Pradnya. And here Baba Ambedkar has given a very conclusive account of the Buddha's conception of Pradnya. And we are going to look into this, okay? So the Brahmins regarded Vidya as in itself a thing of a value. A man of mere learning and knowledge was to them an object of veneration, irrespective of the question whether or not he was a man of virtue. Indeed, they said that a king is honored in his own country, but a man of learning is honored all over the world, suggesting thereby that a man of learning is greater than the king. So the Buddha has made a distinction. And this distinction comes very clearly in Buddha's discussion which is reported in Anguttara Nikaya. As I told you that Baba Ambedkar was a master of Tripitaka. As we have seen in Buddha and his Dhamma that he has gone deep into the Tripitaka. And he has brought the gems for us, and he has tied a very beautiful garland of the Dhamma Sutta for us so that we can understand very easily what is the essence of Buddhism. So here Baba Ambedkar has got this sermon from Anguttara Nikaya, and this sermon took place in Veduvana, where the Buddha stayed there for a long time in Rajagraha. And there once the great officer of Magadha, Vassakara, went to the Buddha, and this is a question and answer between the Vassakara and Buddha. And this question and answer in a way opens up a very interesting domain for us as to what is Pradnya. What is it's very different than mere learning, the bookish learning. What is Pradnya? Let's look at it. Very beautifully explained and structured by Baba Ambedkar. So here there is a vast difference between the Pradnya of the Buddha and Pradnya of the Brahmins. And that's what Vassakara said to the exalted one, to the blessed one. He said this: Master Gautama, we Brahmins proclaim a man if he possesses four qualities as one of the great wisdom, as a great man. What are the four qualities? Here, Master Gautama, he is learned. Of whatsoever he hears, he understands the meanings as soon as it is uttered, saying this is the meaning of that saying. Moreover, he has a good memory. He can remember and recall a thing done long ago and said long ago. Again, in all the business of a householder, he is skilled and diligent, and therein he is resourceful and capable of investigating what is proper to be done and what should be arranged. So this is the definition of a great man. This is the definition of somebody who is learned man or a great man, according to Vassakara, the Brahmin. And he asked the Buddha, now Master Gautama, if a man possesses these qualities, we proclaim him as one of the great wisdom, as a great man. If the worthy Gautama thinks me worthy of commendation, herein let him commend me. On the contrary, if he thinks me blameworthy, let him blame me therefore. So he said that, this is the conception of a great man in their scheme of the things, that he understands the words, he understands the meaning of the words, he does his jobs of the householder well, and so on and so forth. And he says, Vasakara says to the Buddha, whether the Buddha like to, condemn him or, or blame him, he can do it. So the Buddha says that he doesn't want to condemn him or blame him, but he says that I myself proclaim a man to be one of great wisdom if he possesses the following 4 qualities, which are quite different from those mentioned by you. Now listen to the qualities of a great man, and it's like the exposition of Dhamma itself. So we have a man given to welfare of many folk, to the welfare of many, happiness of many folks. So anybody who is given to, who is dedicated to Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya is a great man. Unlike the Brahminical doctrine of, knowing the words, knowing the meaning of the words, it's all about reciting and, reciting correctly, reciting the words. That's all about Brahmanism. But here, what Baba Buddha says that, the man is great if that man is given to the welfare of many folk, to the happiness of many folk. So whoever tries for the happiness and welfare of many people, Bahujana, he is the great man. And the second quality of a great man is very astonishingly put by the Buddha here. By him are many folk established in the Aryan method. So by him, a lot of people come to the right path, to the path of the noble truth. The Aryan method is Arya Ashtangik Marga, isn't it? So by him are many folk established in the Aryan method, to which, in what is lovely nature. Lovely nature is a Kalyan. So what leads to the Kalyan? What is Kalyan? As we have seen in the very in the Gatha that the Buddha has told to the Panchavargya Bhikshu, Charata Bhikkhave Charikam Bahujanitaya Bahujan Sukhaya. So to the 60 monks after the end of the rainy season. So Bahujanitaya Bahujan Sukhaya, and this path is lovely, Kalyanam, Adi Kalyanam, Majja Kalyanam, and in what is of a profitable nature. And this path leads to profit, to the gain of the humanity. So you see, the Buddha's conception of a great man is very different from the Brahminical conception of a great man. To whatsoever train of thought. Now the second quality of a great man, very interesting to know what is the second quality of the great man. To whatsoever train of thoughts he wishes to apply himself, to that train of thought he applies himself. So you see, all his mental energy, all his thinking is focused to the welfare of the people. And he is capable of applying that train of thought to whatever he wants to whatever train of thought he desires not to apply himself. To that train of thought he applies not himself. You see, most of the times we are governed, our train of thoughts are governed by other people. Most of the times our train of thoughts are governed by the society around us. And when we want our train of thoughts to be focused on something, to apply on something, we cannot do it because we are so divided, because we are so disintegrated. But the great man is not so. His train of thoughts, he can apply where he wants to, where he wishes to apply. And this is very profound. It's a very profound quality of a great man, that they can apply themselves to whatever they desire to do. And their desire is about the Bahujanitaya and Bahujan Sukhaya. And whatever intention he wishes to intend, he does so, or not if he so wishes. Thus he is the master of the mind in the ways of thought. You see how beautifully the Buddha has explained it. He says that the great man is the master of the mind. And he knows how to control his thinking. He knows how to apply his thinking. He knows how to cultivate his thinking. Also, he is one who attains at will, without difficulty and without trouble, the 4 musings which belong to the higher thought, which even in this very life are blissful to abide in. So there are, a lot of reflections in Buddhism where, these states of mind that can be attained, the higher thoughts that can be attained, and they are very blissful, as we have seen. So he has no difficulty in attaining those states of mind. He can attain at will. And very interesting, he can attain at will those states of mind. If he wishes now to attain those status of mind, he can do it. And he has, by destruction of asavas, the fetter in this very life, thoroughly comprehending it by himself, he realizes the heart's release, his mind is free. Cheto vimukti, the release by wisdom, pradnya vimukti, and attaining it abide therein. No Brahmin, I neither commend nor blame you herein, but I myself proclaim a man possessed of these 4 different qualities to be one of the great wisdom, to be a great man. You see, in other words, the quality of a great man, or pradnya, is not just about learning, is not just about reading books, it's not just about claiming that I know better than you. It has a very different meaning when it comes to the Buddha's Dhamma. And here we have seen the way Baba Ambedkar has interpreted the Buddha's Dhamma and laid before us very clearly as to who is a great man. Who is a great man? One who strives for Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya. One who inspires other people to establish in the Noble Eightfold Path. He encourages people to perceive what is lovely, kalyanam, and what is profitable. That particular man who the Buddha claims to be the great man has a complete control over his mind. He is the master of his mind. In Gatha, in Dhammapada, he said that, conquering the world is nothing compared to conquering one's own mind, because mind is very difficult to conquer. Is the most difficult thing to conquer, and mastering the mind is the quality of a great man. And what does this mastery of the mind does? It helps people, it helps that great man to put his thinking wherever he likes. And he can attain to the higher stages of mind anytime. His mind is so trained, his mind is so under his control that he can, let his mind go through all the sublime states. And his mind is, because the asavas, the impurities are destroyed, he has completely understood the reality. His mind is released, called in Buddhist technical terms, called Cheto Vimukti, and the release by wisdom, Pradnya Vimukti, and he attaining it abides therein. So you see, these are the qualities of the great man, and that is what the Pradnya is all about. It's about the destruction of the asavas. It's about, bringing mind in the total control of oneself. It's about cultivating the mind, training the mind. It's about doing good to the world. It's about, encouraging other people to do good in the world, to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, and to bring what is lovely in the nature, lovely in the world to the community, to the humanity. So you see that, this is what the section 2 is all about. And we have seen that it starts with a big subtitle, Dhamma to be Saddhamma must promote Pradnya. And the Baba Ambedkar gradually, teaches us, what is it about promoting Pradnya. And he further divides this section 2 into 3 subsections. And we have seen these 3 subsections, like the section number 1, Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all. And there nothing can be the exclusive property of any particular class. Knowledge cannot be exclusive property of one particular class. Learning cannot be the exclusive property of one particular class. And this is what the Buddha tells to Lohicha in this sutta. And this is very well covered in the subsection 1, Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all. And then in the next subsection 2, Baba Sahib says that Dhamma is Saddhamma when it teaches that mere learning is not enough, it may lead to pedantry. And he says that, nobody can claim that they know everything in the world. It's not possible. And therefore, the person who is so arrogant, so puffed up with the knowledge, claiming that they know they are the only repository of knowledge, other people don't know anything, it's not possible. Other people might know something in some domain more than us. And it's always so. There are people who know about more than us in certain domains. So when one cannot claim that they are holding a torch of knowledge to other human beings. And the third and a very beautifully explained subsection is the subsection 3, where the Buddha in fact goes into what is pradnya and what kind of the practice of the pradnya that one needs to cultivate. And this subsection is titled as Dhamma is Saddhamma, when it teaches that what is needed is pradnya. And then he goes on to claim that the pradnya, which is about words and knowing words, knowing the recitation of the words, knowing the meaning of the words is not enough. And he goes on to define that what constitutes pradnya. And by the way, the great man. So who is a great man? Who strives for Bhujan Hitai and Bhujan Sukhai, one who brings a lot of people in the right path, the noble eightfold path. He brings in the world what is kalyanam, lovely, and what is profitable. He has mastered his mind. His trains of thoughts are in his complete control. His intentions are in his total control, and his will is in his total control. And not only that, all the asavas, all the fetters in his mind are completely comprehended and destroyed, and therefore his mind is free, his chitta is free, he's released with pradnya, by pradnya, and he abides in that state of mind. So that's what constitutes the great man, and that's what constitutes to be a learned man. So with this, I will end our class on section 2, Dhamma to be Saddhamma must promote Pradnya, and we will open it for next 15 minutes for discussion or anything that anybody would like to comment upon.
Asavas word is used for what? Fetters?
Fetters, asavas. Asavas are technical term in Buddhism, which means the flow. Shrava means flow, and our mind is always flowing to the negative sort of mental states. So the one who has understood the asavas and the way the mind flows out, the flux of the mind, the various fetters that bind us to ignorance. So here the implication is this, that the man has destroyed all the fetters, and only when the fetters are completely destroyed, then only we can attain to freedom. Then only we can attain to vimukti. Then only we can attain to true pradnya.
Uncontrolled flow of consciousness. Okay.
You can say uncontrolled flow of emotions.
Yeah. Yes. In section 2, first verse, Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all. So in this, it is stated that the person who has neurotic desire of possession can only claim that everything belongs to him. So Buddha suggests that to control the greed, and likewise the person, the knowledge should be communicated to all, including Shudras and women of all varnas.
Yes.
And not claim only or limited society.
Yes. Very true. Yes, madam, very true. Others, anybody has anything to say, offer comments or reflection or anything, please feel free.
So I have one reflection.
Yes, Umesh bhai.
Sir, the things that has been
Yes.
very deeply in our society, it's present over there. That we have not been having the ability to gain the knowledge and other resources as well. Such a simple and beautiful things, how it is not being developed in masses in our community.
Right. No, I think, Umesh bhai, it takes time because, time and efforts of the people. Now, I think there are considerable number of people who are trying to make sense of the Buddha and his Dhamma and read Baba Saheb Ambedkar and so on and so forth. I think that is one of the aims of our classes, is to really, get into habit of reading Buddha and his Dhamma and sharing it with others, the understanding that we have. And I think, there has to be more and more efforts, organized individual efforts to communicate what has been, taught by our great forefathers, particularly the Buddha and his Dhamma, is such an important book. As you said, that, every page has certain message and every page has certain teaching for us. So for example, in this section 2, we have seen that even if we don't read a lot of Buddha and his Dhamma, if we can clarify for ourselves these 4 or 5 pages of the Buddha and his Dhamma, it's enough, isn't it? Isn't it enough that,
Yes, sir, true, very true, sir.
Isn't it? We don't need to even read the whole book. If we can just distill down the message of these few pages into a communicable sort of a device and teach it to the people, that this is what makes you a great man. This is how it is. This is how to cultivate Pradnya, by practicing Bhojan Hitaya, Bhojan Sukhaya, inspiring other to walk on the noble path. Bring what is good in the world, and working on the mind, mastering the mind, because without mastering the mind, we cannot do much to the world. And this destroying the asavas, making our minds free, making our minds like very useful for other people. So I think these are very simple things to understand, but I wonder a lot of people don't know about it, because maybe people don't study, or even if they study, they might not understand clearly what is written down there. And those people who understand clearly might not be communicating with others what is the understanding. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. In my mind, what we are lagging is we have to use the 21st century tools to communicate,
Yes.
such as the blindfoldness and blindness they are propagating in the same pattern. We have to propagate our philosophies and our teachings and our good things.
Yes, very true, very true, very true.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anybody else?
It is difficult to have control over the mind.
Yes, but that is what is all about, no, madam?
Yes. Training to the mind,
Training.
constant.
Yes, yes, yes. And that is what is one of the purposes of Saddhamma, to train the mind. And we have seen that in the previous sections as to how, what is the training.
How to train.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jai Bhim, sir.
Jai Bhim, Shashank.
Great. So I want to reflect on all 3 sections we have covered here. First reflection is on the chapter that the mere learning is open to all. Dhamma is Saddhamma when it makes learning open to all. So in today's 21st century, we can say that, for example, if you want to have a certification on artificial intelligence, if you want to have a certification on Internet of Things, if you want to have a certification of certain advanced course, if you look at all the fees, in Indian institution, in Indian universities are so high, so that's why it makes learning very difficult. It makes that course very difficult to access, even if it is on internet, even if it is on YouTube. But to make a certified course, to get access to the certification,
that and mobile will damage.
Yeah, so to get the access to that certification is very, very tough. if you look at engineering fees in universities, it's very high. If you look at wants to become a MBBS doctor, it's very high. So that makes the learning very tough. And then it becomes a challenge. How we can make the learning open to all. So that is one challenge in today's 21st century, we can say. And then I can say that on the second section, it talks about Dhamma is Saddhamma, when it teaches that mere learning is not enough. Again, it comes back to the our all Ambedkarite Buddhist community. We have lots of learning. We have lots of good knowledge. We have, but when it comes to the humbleness, when it comes to the receptivity, we are like not open. Sometimes we like so. How can I accept this person's learning? So that comes, I can say, rigidity in our Ambedkarite Buddhists, mainly because we are suffering from this rigidity, or maybe you can say ego, I can say, because we are suffering from that. So how we can be humble, the way Buddha said that, if any man, whether he's learned or not, consider himself so great as to despise other man. He's like a blind man holding a candle. So I think from Ambedkarite Buddhist part of view, how we can be humble, how we can be like receptive, how we can open that learning, how we can be flexible in our thinking. So that kind of a reflection we can bring on the second section. And then third section is talks about Dhamma is Saddhamma, where it teaches that what is needed is Pradnya. So again, it's Pradnya is not just about insight, it's about continuously working on our mind, continuously training the mind, continuously applying the mind in the right directions, that is Eightfold Path, and then get rid of all the fetters, get rid of all the asuvas continuously on daily basis. So that makes the Dhamma is Saddhamma, when we cultivate towards the direction of towards the Pradnya, I can say. So yeah, I can say thank you, sir, for this. This is my reflection.
Great. Anybody else?
Mangesh bhai.
Pankaj bhai.
Jai Bhim, Mangesh bhai, and all friends who are present in the forum. I was just saying, mastering the mind. I just got a thought. What if people master the mind? What ultimately they attain basically? Well, it's very vague question.
Yes. I think
difficult to light.
See, master of mind implies that the slave to the mind, right?
Yeah.
And what is the slavery of mind? So the slavery of mind is about being controlled by other factors, being controlled by unknown forces, isn't it? So there are a lot of things which are unknown to us, which control us. There are a lot of things which are enslaving our minds, aren't there? And
yes.
Sometimes we are aware of the things which enslave our mind. Sometimes we are not aware of the things which enslaves our minds. So the master of mind is somebody whose mind is not controlled by any conscious or unconscious force. In other words, the mind is free to see the reality as it is. The mind is free to act the way it should act. Most of the times, when we say that we are free to act, we are not. We intend one thing, but we cannot do it because our minds are enslaved by the known and unknown factors.
So what basically what it understands is, suppose one becomes a master of mind. What he understands, he or she?
The first thing will be the understanding the mind itself, knowing the mind. What is the mind? Because the basic difficulty is that we don't know what is the mind. Isn't it? So knowing the mind is very important. So we can train something only when we know what is something. And as we know that mind cannot be directly seen, it can be experienced but cannot be directly seen. But what we can directly experience is our body actions and our speech. Isn't it? Which are the manifestation of our mind. Our speech is the manifestation of our mind, which our bodily actions are manifestation of our minds. So we gradually train ourselves to directly learn the the mindfulness of mind itself. You see this when we look at this Satipatthana, we start with basic concrete thing, Kayanupassana. Then we move to Vednanupassana. Then we move to Chittanupassana. Knowing the mind itself, that whether our mind is full of greed, hatred, or delusion, or our mind is free, our mind is narrow, or our mind is broad, our mind is moving towards positivity, or our mind is moving toward negativity. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yes, getting.
Yes. So knowing the mind is the first step to master the mind.
Yes.
And then at will, the great people can take their mind anywhere, as it is said here. They can at once. So they are not limited by what is happening around them. They are not controlled by what is going on around them. Their minds can be applied anytime, anywhere to the higher goals. While our minds are not, because our minds are so much controlled, so much entrapped into worldly things, into greed, into hatred and delusion. We cannot at once apply our mind to something noble or lofty. Can we?
No, we cannot. I cannot.
But no, I'm just saying, it's a rhetoric question. But you look at the people like Baba Ambedkar or Buddha, they can at once.
True. They attended that. Correct.
Yeah, they can at once apply their minds, whatever the circumstances are, whatever happens around them, they are not bothered even.
So we have to evolve certain rational tools, easy tools. What we are I'm visualizing in society is we get easily trapped by them, and we go on countering what they wrong they are doing. Instead, we should follow what good we are having. We have to propagate that.
Yes.
Constant training is to be given to overcome the passions, greed, hatred, and delusion. Because of these passions only do not allow us to do the welfare things, whatever we wish to do.
That's very true, madam. That's very true. Okay, then I think we have come to the end of the class. If there is anything urgent anybody would like to share, if not, then we will close the class here.
Yes, JB.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sunil bhai, you want to say something?
Yeah, if you allow, I can say something.
Please go on.
I think there is a technique called Vipassana to train the mind. If one practices Vipassana for considerable period of time, then mind gets automatically trained in that. Means we are getting the ability to focus the mind at one particular place in our body or wherever we want, and get the sensation in that part of the body, whether inner sensation, outer sensation, excluding these gross sensations. Gross sensations are those sensations which are easily noted by us, like somewhere some itching is there, somewhere pain is there. Like these sensations, they are gross sensations. But there are some subtle sensations in the body. These sensations can also be noted if our mind is fully focused on that. And this is taught in Vipassana.
Good.
So I think people, they say that Vipassana was done by the Buddha, and that's why his mind was so much focused. At any time, if somebody asked him to focus at some part of the body, he was able to focus, and he was getting the sensation in that, micro subtle sensations. What is happening, what type of the activities are going on in that particular body, like say fingers or toes or chest or stomach or head or ear, everywhere. So that is the master of the mind. And once someone attains this mastery over the mind, then mastery over the all other things, like greed is there, hatred is there. So all such things can be easily mastered.
Good. Very good.
I think this much from my side.
Good.
So if we practice, then it is, I think, possible. But a lot of practice is required, and isolation from the society is required. One has to leave the society
Yes. We'll talk about
Yeah,
it more, but very good
Yeah.
points. Very good points.
Yeah.
but along with that, Samyak Vayam and Samasati also should be practiced.
That also comes. After this, that comes. That follows automatically.
No,
That we
first
have to
comes
isolate
Samyak
our-
Vayam and then Samasati and then means simultaneously we have to.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Not-
comes. It comes. Once we master the mind, it comes along with that.
All right. Very good comment, Sunil Bhau. And anybody else? So we end with a comment by Sunil Bhau and see you next week.